Hi, welcome to Artist and Critic. I'm Don Gray. We are going to be talking today about, I suppose, good painting and bad painting. What can make painting good, what can make it bad, and I suppose there are endless aspects to this, but I'm going to deal basically with paintings that have a realistic image. Some will be toward surrealism, some toward expressionism and so forth, but try to suggest some qualities that good painting has. I think we have to talk about things like this because there's so little of it in evidence in the art world today. I think there is good painting, but I don't think the art world respects it. It's not interested in good painting. It's interested, the art world, I believe, as I mentioned on other programs, has its eye more toward something that has a little kick to it, a little gimmickry to it, a little syrupy sentimentality to it, to make money, which is, to make money is a legitimate thing, but it is destroying art. I think we have to do things for the cause of art rather than solely for the cause of money. I think the two can be blended as we blend it in other aspects of our lives. So why don't we go to the first painting, and we'll talk about some of the good qualities that it has. That first painting is a beauty. It's a beautiful painting by Peter Bruegel, Flemish painter of the early 16th century. And maybe we'll have a show a little bit later on what is beauty and what is ugliness, see? Because many people are going to look at this and they're going to say, my God, what a hag, what a bag, what a refuse, what human rubbish heap did we get this picture from? A portrait of a peasant woman, and my God, is it alive? Is it gutty? Is it real? Is it solid? Does it have beautiful character to it, not only to the forms themselves, whether of the cap or the jaw or that mouth or the little she has about 2 or 3 little teeth gleaming in that gaping jaw that looks like it's a cantaloupe segment been cut out of it. Whatever we talk about, or the character of the personality, someone who could be in awe that her hogs just had a litter of 17, or she sees an angel. It could be either one, but it's a solid, gutty picture. Okay, let's go to the grouping of the next 4, and we'll see the group as a whole, and then as we talk about it, the camera can feel free to play across any of the 4. So when we get the 4 pictures up, we'll talk about it. I'm not going to tell you who did them, but what do you think? Which pictures to you have quality, and which pictures to you are less successful as art, perhaps aren't even art? Which ones have strength of form, which ones have strength of personality? Of course, they may be so far off that it looks like a crowd. In the upper left, the painting by Robert Henry. Upper right, Paul Cézanne's Wife by Paul Cézanne. Lower left, Madame Henriot by Pierre Renoir. And in the lower right, a cute little boy listening to a seashell, painted by one of the commercial portrait painting companies. You send in a photograph and they'll send you back a marvelous painting. Well, so I'm giving it away here. First, why don't we focus in on the Henry at the upper left, maybe just track the camera in, or however we need to get in close so that we can see these pictures relatively closely. If we can maybe push the camera in a little bit, even when we're on the air. Go ahead and push. The Robert Henry at the upper left. Now, Henry had some good qualities, influenced by Frans Hals, maybe a certain amount of Manet in his work. When he's at his vigorous alla prima best, where he paints it all in a rush, there's a fluidity and a spontaneity and a sense of life in his pictures. I'm not sure that this picture is the greatest Henry that ever existed. There's a certain sentimentality to it. There's maybe a certain posed picturesqueness more than anything that tends to destroy the quality of the picture. The forms, although they're simplified, are extremely predictable. The modeling of the arm with the gleam, she's resting on the foreground, the gleam of the elbow, and the forced exoticism of Carmelita of Taos or whoever she is. Compare this to the Cézanne as we track right, just track right, and we see the Paul Cézanne. Just feel free to track right there. A picture has more formal strength in the sense of the solid simplicity of the body, even though the picture's not finished in the sense that he didn't cover everything in the lower right. You know, the hands aren't finished and so forth, but it is finished in terms of its expressiveness, its solidity as form, and its human sense of a human presence, a human personality. He's not fuss budgeting with all the little curl of the hair, the spit curl, or the exotic costume, the false exotica, so to speak. So that Cézanne is superior to Henry in this particular instance, and generally, of course, but even more so in this because this is a weak Henry. Okay, let's go down below Henry, and let's take a look at Renoir. Either one, just go take it down. And we look at Pierre Renoir here. And we're going to be talking about some of the sentimentality of the little boy next to her. And we can say, well, my God, isn't this Renoir kind of a weak picture? Look at, there's not much contrast between the dress and the bosom and the background and the face. The only thing that seems to stand out is the hair and the eyes. And maybe that's one of the qualities that gives this picture quality, aside from the fact that it's sensitive, it's poetic, there's a delicate evocation, if I can use that word without sounding too affected, of delicate femininity, of feminine presence, of one kind of feminine presence. There are all kinds of feminine as well as masculine presences, of course. But the contrast of the eyes and the hair, we zip into that, we fasten on it, and we look at the beautiful body and the delicate painting of it at our leisure. But it's a direct painting experience. It has a delicate kind of substance and a great deal of personal creativity. Okay, let's go to the one on the right. And we look at this cute little boy. Now, there's nothing wrong with listening to shells and nothing wrong with little boys or little girls, but the picture is a hodgepodge. It isn't, it's more a photograph, a photographic composition than a painterly composition. It has no painterly structure in the sense of the relationship of forms in a significant way within the perimeters of the canvas, as Cézanne or any great painter does. Bruegel or whoever we're going to talk about. That's great. It's just, it's a candid photographic snapshot. It's syrupy, it's sweet, it's sentimental, it's insignificant. This is what you get. You pays your money. They probably get a couple of $100 for this, 300, 500, 250, and you have a memory of your child, but that's all you have. You don't have a painting. We go to the next one. And just to verify the fact that you can paint children, that you can paint sentiment. There's a difference, everyone always says the difference between sentiment and sentimentality. I, for a long time, had a hell of a time figuring out what that difference was. But I think to say it succinctly, sentimentality is symbolized by the act of dressing up your little poodle in the cutest, cuddly little knit clothes, little coat, the little booties, a little scarf around its neck, little dingle bells from the ears, and you know, maybe put a little touch of rouge on its nose. That is sentimentality. That is sort of emotional substitution, finding a drippingly awful expression. Walter Keane paintings where the tears run down the cheeks of this little urchin standing before the ruins of some city, and oh God, our hearts just melt before this thing. Sheer gushing sentimentality that is taking advantage of legitimate human feelings that are within all of us. Okay, let's take a look at that Renoir and see how we can express it with some originality, some effectiveness. It's straightforward observation. Number one, beautiful color. Number two, sensitive application of the brush. Number three, this of course in the Frick collection, Girl with a Watering Can here in New York City. The total pictorial composition, which we don't get a feeling for here, we're getting sort of a detail of it. We could pull back on it, but or pan up and down a little bit or something. But, you know, there's a beautiful division of the space with the green curved lawn behind her, the creamy white path below the corner cut off by a curving rose bush, and the significant design of the girl's dress itself. It's just a beautiful, whole, formal, structural statement, even though it's in the soft Impressionist style. Even Impressionism has structure, although it becomes diaphanous and amorphous and sometimes weak. Okay, let's go to the next picture. And we'll be looking at an image that caught the fancy of the world in World War I and has been a memorable image since that time. It's the Uncle Sam, I Want You for the U.S. Army, painted by James Montgomery Flagg. Looks to be a watercolor. In fact, I'm sure it's a watercolor. But is it art? There can be gripping images. There can be momentarily gripping images, or even images that have a certain effectiveness over a time period that are not art. And of course, this is not art. It's not art because it's not probing deep human values. There's no real significance to it except that it is commissioned by the government to make you feel guilty unless you join the army and go fight the war in France or Germany or Belgium or wherever you would happen to be sent in World War I. The finger pointed right at you, the stern grandfather. This is going to awaken all your psychic uncertainties and sense of unease of what Dad said to you, and oh my God, if only I'd done this for my dad. And gosh, I remember when he scolded me, I'd better go to Belgium. I don't want to go in the army, but Grandpa wants me to go, so I'm going to go. So this is commercial art. It was created by the artist under the impetus of an outside force rather than from his own inner needs. And it's not that commissioned art can't be good, but this was not commissioned for the Sistine Chapel to enrich and ennoble the human soul. This was painted to get our boys to Belgium and France. Okay, let's go to the next picture. And we see a self-portrait by Vincent van Gogh, painted early upon his arrival in Paris in 1887, after he had failed as a preacher and had painted his potato eaters and had just encountered Impressionism and turned it into his own spectacularly expressive style. Of course, what makes this excellent is the emotional expression, the richness of the color. The face is a multitude of strokes of green, orange, yellow, purple, violet, pink, endless. The strength of form, it's solid. The hat brim stands out in front of the top of the hat. The nose stands out in front of the cheek, and so forth. It is solid, it's expressive, it's something coming from deep within the man, expressing his artistic drive, his hopelessness, his suffering, but the fact that he will go on despite the suffering. Look at the structure of the beard. Look how it becomes a thrilling paint and reality entity, if I can phrase it that way awkwardly, but maybe that says it. How real and expressive it is, and how free the paint. We don't have to paint it pore by pore, but on the other hand, we can. Let's go to the next picture. And we take a look at a self-portrait by Dürer, the German painter. And we see the particular German meticulousness, somewhat like the Flemish meticulousness of style, the concern for sharp contour. Look what he does with the hair. Look how he outlines all the forms very carefully. But there's a sense of personal commitment. The forms are significant in themselves. They're expressive. They're real. They're solid. They're substantial. And the expressiveness in the face is of an intense artist, an expressive artist. We can just pan up, pan up. And obviously a serious observer. Look at him observing himself in the mirror. See, we are partner to the fixity, the intensity. It doesn't have the hysteria or the glazed suffering that Van Gogh's has. This man is under control, but look at his gaze. Look how he observes everything. With those eyes, with that commitment and fixity, no wonder he can paint it with such reality. Okay, we'll go to the next picture. And that picture, what's the difference between this picture in its concern for detail and the concern that Dürer has had for detail? I don't know this artist's name, and I don't mean to be smart aleck or, let me see if I can I, we've got a terrible, what if I do that and the camera? Let me try it the other way. Folks, this is a, how do you like that? This is an easygoing show, if you hadn't gathered by now. I don't mean to be smart when I say that I don't know who painted this. And I don't mean to be unkind, but I don't think it matters because whereas Dürer uses detail to enhance the total image, this artist loses the image through an overabundance of detail. Now, I don't know how clearly your set picks up the detail, but we're smothered by the myriad little bumps and wiggles of form on the trunk of the tree, Limmy's, the crow's on. We're smothered by the infinitesimal, unnecessary detail in the feathers. This is losing sight of the tree for the forest, perhaps. He's missed the essential solidity of the crow. He's missed the essential blackness or darkness of the crow. You know, you drive along any of the highways outside of town, you see these dark crows against the snow, or you see them in trees, on the top of trees, or they make a peck at a mashed raccoon on the Palisades Parkway and dash to the side of the road until you get by. There's a sense of blackness and heaviness and form. I don't believe he got that. I believe he illustrated a crow. One has a feeling of an illustration of a stuffed crow on a limb, and not a very realistic limb, despite all those little flea bumps on it. Okay, let's go to the next picture. And we'll see just the opposite quality in a picture, and I believe it will be a flaw, a Leonard Baskin eagle. And I think it will be just the opposite, if we can close in on it a little bit. And now this is a large picture, perhaps 30 by 40 in size. Now, this is a case of understatement, of underdoing it too far, see? Not having the concentration or the strength of will or the ability to to realize a form, in Cézanne's words. It's too easy, it's too facile, and its expressiveness is minimized because of this too easy facility, not carrying it far enough. Let's go to the next picture by Leonard Baskin, and we see a similar case of not doing enough. Picture of a cat, similar large scale, 30, 40, 25, 40, whatever, and it just won't hack it. See, we think of Dürer's hair, his rabbit, where he painted meticulously, seemingly, each hair on the rabbit, but there's a sense of the total rabbit, the total hair, that is so real, so expressive, so solid. Okay, let's go down to the Picasso goat. And let's take a look. It's a sculpture, and perhaps some will say you can't compare a painting or drawing with a sculpture, but I think you can compare anything with anything as long as it reveals something of truth. Now, if you're going to paint a crow, you paint the crowiness of the crow. If you paint a goat, you make it as goaty as you can. And by God, I think Picasso got the goatiest goat that you can imagine. The sagging abdomen, the udder dragging on the ground, the angular shoulders, the full Roman nose, the horns, the ear, everything. I mean, he really got a goat, and he built this thing up really abstractly from plaster. He stuck palm leaves in it and fronds and all kinds of things, but he got the character of the goat simply, solidly. Okay, let's just pan right to the next picture, right next to it. And friends, this is the best I could do for a, maybe we can move in closer to what I thought was an expressively painted animal, simply done. Now, this is Franz Hall's painting of Moll Bab, a tavern habitué or of 17th century Holland. Maybe we can get closer, maybe we can't. I don't know. Just track in closer. And, while we're on the air, it doesn't matter. This is an informal show. We're after truth. We're not after slick production. If we were after slick production, we couldn't get it anyway. So we're trying to make points here. Look at that owl on Mal Bab's shoulder. If you can see it, I know it probably looks like a flea, but it's solid, it's simple, it's expressive of owlness, it's expressive of the whole sort of haunted. Maybe we can focus it up a little bit. I don't know, I'm probably asking an awful lot here with moving the camera, different size pictures. But we do have the quality of the owliness of it, and it expresses some of the whole sort of witches' Sabbath aspect of this cackling drunkard, and really free spirit here. And look at the beautiful painting of the figure, solid, alive, slapdash, but just energized and free, and a wonderful, solid painting. There's the old owl. Isn't that a good owl? Okay, we'll go to the next picture, and it will be a sculpture, and I think a very bad sculpture. And we'll try to point out why. It's called the Decision, and frankly, I'm just frightened to death to even speculate what the Decision is about. I'll leave that to your imagination. Mine has covered all the waterfronts there. Terribly illustrative. It's an illustration. There's no sense of dynamism of form, relationship of forms. It's static. There's no sense of body underneath the meticulously rendered folds of Levi's and jacket and so forth. This is not to say that it's not possible to make a contemporary sculpture of someone making a phone call, but this is so effete, this is so weak, this is so insignificant that it is a meaningless sculptural expression. Okay, let's go to the right, and perhaps since time is limited, maybe we can, I was going to say pan, but that's all right. We'll take a look at a Degas ballet dancer, simple, solid, expressive, no sense of overstatement in any of the sculpture, the basic solid structure of the body in beautiful equilibrium based on his observation of the figure for so many, many years. Okay, let's go down to this one. We'll go to the next picture at the bottom, and let's look at these ballet dancers. This is a print, and we'll let it flash on, and you make your decision. Is this a quality work of art? Is this a significant work of art? Is this a profound work of art? Since time is short, I will give my answer in any way. No, it's a hideous thing. It's just ghastly. This is sentimentality. This is effeteness to just an incredible degree. It's just totally insignificant. This artist has much the same spirit as the one who made the telephone. It's just terribly effete, and that's the word I'll settle for. Okay, let's pan right, and we go to the Manet next to it. Manet's Olympia, and perhaps it's unkind to kill a flea with a cannon, but look at the straightforward honesty of the nude. If we just look at the nude, we forget the total composition, which of course is magnificent, but look at the honesty, the unpretentiousness of it, the directness of it. There's no sense of cloying emotionalism, of effeteness, ghastly, a ghastly effeminacy. This is real painting. Okay, why don't you come to me and let's see if we can finish on another picture. Why don't we go here and then we'll go there, because I think time is dying on us here. I don't know this artist's name. It doesn't matter. I don't mean to be unkind, but it's an insignificant piece of cartoonish, cute illustration. This is your memory of Paris. There's no reality, no sense of reality. It's a cartoon. It's insignificant. Let's pan to the next one. Just pan right across, and we look at Van Gogh's Night Cafe. A similar scene, the same city. Pull back. I'd like to see the whole picture on this. Let's pull back. This becomes not only an expression and observation of a night cafe, this becomes a statement of man's place in the universe. The ever-present starry sky above links the life of the people in the cafe under the lighted canopy and suggests this tremendous, profound grasp of life that Van Gogh had, and this profound quality that all great art does have. And it's a beautiful, we talk about symbolism, it's a marvelously rich human statement. This is what great art should be. You can tell. Take your time and look at it. Thanks for being with us.